and welcome back to my sewing vlog, The Seaside Sewist. So this is a new series of vlogs. Episode 1 is Sew With Me, the Gable Top by Jennifer Lauren Handmade. This is going to take us right from reading the pattern, deciding on what size we're going to make, through to cutting out, assembling, and then a little mini photo shoot at the end. So I bought the Gable top as part of the Guthrie and Ghani Sewing Society, and I think I bought it about 9 months ago and I just haven't got round to it. But I'm going to Paris in June and I do want to wear it, even just to travel in, because I think it's very Parisian chic. So I've kept everything in these little plastic wallets that you can then put into a ring binder. I think I got these on Amazon. And with the Sewing Society kit, you literally get everything in there that you need. So you get the paper pattern, also the pattern which I have then printed out, a roll of stay tape for the shoulder seams, a little tag that says made by me with G&G, there's a little card there where you can put the sizes you made and everything like that. What else have we got? We've got a roll of Guthrie thread, and of course the main event, which is the fabric. So this is a navy with a white stripe. This is a French terry. What you also get as part of the Guthrie and Ghani Sewing Society is I think it's like a 30-minute video of tips and tricks to working with stripy fabric. So how to match your stripes when you put in the sleeves in, how to match all that. So I think I'll be making use of that as well. So we shall start with the pattern, which I have printed out there. So the Gable top with a classic 50s inspired slash neckline, a long line body for extra comfort, and 3 different sleeve options. The Gable top will become your new favourite go-to knit top pattern. Gable is perfect for wearing all year round, layered with dresses and cardigans on chilly mornings, or worn on its own with 3/4 skinny jeans or a high-waisted skirt a la Audrey in spring. Gable is a stylish weekend basic that can be easily dressed up and added to your office outfit rotation. Made with comfy, stretchy knits, Gable is a quick and easy sew that doesn't use much fabric and turns out perfect every time. So it does say it's designed for confident beginners through to advanced seamstresses. So then we've got some different views. I actually got quite a lot of fabric and was a bit in two minds whether just to lengthen it or kind of use like the Freya dress hack to make it into a dress. But I think I'll keep it as a top. So there's 3 views. So you've got this view here, which is like a short sleeve version. Then you've got this view with the long sleeve, and the view at the end I think is to put a different, like a contrasting fabric on the ends there. So I'm going to make this view in the middle here. So what do we need? Stretch knit fashion fabric, matching thread, ballpoint or stretch needles. You also did get ballpoint needles in with that actually. Stay tape, or you can use ribbon or clear elastic for the shoulder seams. Pins, fabric scissors, tape, tracing paper. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to go off and measure ourselves and see what we fit into on the measurements. And I think it's important on here, it's got negative ease, so if you want to size up for a looser garment, do so. But I'm just going to go off and measure myself, and I'll be back in a minute. Right, so I have taken my measurements, and this kind of still baffles me, the whole measurement bit. So I'm a 34 bust, but the 8 and the 10 on here, the 8 is a 33 and the 10 is a 35. So I would probably go for the 10 there. But then I have a 30-inch waist, which is a size 12, and a 40-inch hip, which is also the size 12. So I'm going to move along to finished garment measurement. And it's saying that the bust is a 34 for a 10. $29 3/4 waist is a 12. Do I want a loose garment? I wanted it to be quite fitted. I'm kind of in between sizes now. I think I'll probably go for the 12. I think I'm going to go for the 12. So the next part that we're then on to is laying out the pattern pieces. So we need to cut out the PDF pattern. When I first started dressmaking, I used to trace every pattern off. But what I think I'm going to do is cut out the 12. Worst case scenario is that I think I've always, because I've ordered it through Guthrie and Ghani, I think I always have the facility to be able to get this reprinted at a print shop. So I'm going to just cut it straight out. So probably the rest of this video is now going to be filmed in my dining room. It's probably going to be a different day. I'll be wearing different clothes. So we will cut the pattern out together and then move on to the next step. So this is my sew along for the Jennifer Lauren Handmade Gable top. So the part that we're on to now is cutting out the pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out what I've chosen as the size 12. However, I think when I then try it on part way through, I'm then going to maybe take it down to a 10, but I'm going to start with a 12. So we'll get cutting out our pattern now. So I have cut out all 3 pattern pieces that I need. So we've got the front, the back piece, and the sleeve for view 2, which is this, this view here, just with the normal long sleeve. So there's literally 3 pattern pieces. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I pre-wash my fabric. I'm just going to go and press it, and then I am going to start cutting the fabric out, but I will be back to show you a couple of hints that I've picked up from watching the Guthrie and Ghani tutorial. It's on for about 30 minutes, and you can, when you buy the kit, you actually get the video as part of the kit, but if you want, you can actually go onto the Guthrie and Ghani website and buy that video for, I think it's £5. There was a lot of information in that's really helped me, especially when matching up the stripes and how to do lower the neckline and things like that. So I am going to go off and press this and then start placing the pattern pieces onto the fabric. Oh, and by the way, this is my Jarrah sweater from Megan Nielsen. I am absolutely in love with it. I did put a shout out over on Instagram and on YouTube about should I put a quote on here with vinyl. I did decide against it. I just think it looks lovely plain. So I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. Right, so what we've got now is, it says to cut on the fold, but because I'm using a stripe, the tutorial video actually said to just lay it on the flat. So it says to line the bottom up with one of the small stripes, the thinner stripes, pin that, make sure you have got it going straight so your stripes aren't going to be sort of off, and then also try and line up the underarm with like the bottom of a stripe rather than being in the middle of any of the stripes. So I'm going to pin that on, and then I will show you the next part that is recommended to do. So it was then recommended just to cut that first half out of the front and make a little centre notch at the bottom and at the top. And now it tells you to take this pattern piece off, and so you getting your stripes straight is to fold the fabric over to the other side. So I'm just going to do that and I'll come back to you in a minute. As I said, what they recommended was that you then folded your other piece over, sort of to get your fold, so then you can actually match up every single stripe so that you know the entire thing is straight. So you kind of pin it all where all the stripes are, and then you can actually use the edge of this to cut out the other side. So I'm going to go and do that now. So I've cut this bit out, sort of like on the fold, but we're pinning every so many stripes, so I'm going to get that right. So I'm then now going to put the pattern piece back on top of the fabric to cut all the notches in, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the back piece, and then I'll come back to you when we're about to put the sleeves out, because there's something you do with that where you pattern match the stripes. So I'll come back to you in a bit. So we've cut the front and the back bodice pieces out. Again, when I cut the back part, I lined it up with the same stripe as we did on the front, so the very bottom white stripe, so that both of the underarms on the front and the back both had that same line within it, so they will then carry through. So that's it on the front and that's it on the back, so they'll match up that way and start, hopefully. Anyone else have a problem pinning French terry? I had a nightmare trying to like put it through the loops. Maybe I should have done it the other way, but I tried to put it through the loops, and then you might have seen the minute where I trapped my finger in the scissors, so that was fun. So I know it's a stretch fabric and I would usually use a rotary cutter for this, but I'm using scissors just so I can not sort of stretch the stripes as I'm going with it. So I'm using these, and then just some pins that I have got in this little like a fabric weight, but also pin cushion that Anna from You Got Me in Stitches made for me. So, and he's got some random labels stuck to him as well that I haven't had time to put in my label box yet, so he's helping me today. So front and back we've done. The next part is the sleeve. I thought I would be able to go along one length and maybe get two sleeves out of this side, but I don't think I will. So on the sleeve part, it's not the same on each side, and I made this mistake the other week about not flipping my pattern piece, so I need to cut one out this way and then flip it and cut the other one out. And I think what I need to do is match up, so the underarm on this as well has to be how I've done my underarm part on the bodice piece. So I will just check where I've done that. So I've sort of done it at the top of a white stripe. So I need to do the same on the sleeve. So I've got two sleeve pieces to cut out, so I will go ahead and do that, remembering to flip the piece for the second part, and then I will come back to you. So I've now cut out the two sleeve pieces as well, so we are kind of ready to go. So I'm going to bring down my sewing machine and my overlocker, because I usually sew up in my sewing room upstairs, but I just thought it was going to be so much easier and lighter in here for you to be able to see what I was doing. So I'll go and get those and then we can start sewing. So we're all ready to sew now. So these are my machines. So I recently, I'm saying recently, about a year ago, upgraded my machine to this Brother Innovus F420. recommended to me by Tamlin from Sewn on the Tyne, and I love using this machine. And then my overlocker is the Singer S14-78, which was one of the Lidl overlockers. So they're my two machines there. So we're going to get started sewing now. Right, so I've kept back a few scraps of fabric. Now it's recommended that you use a stretch stitch when sewing stretch fabrics, but I recently got a First for Fabrics mystery box and it had Maraflex stretch cotton in it, the Guthrie thread. So I thought, what I've done is literally sewn two pieces of scraps together of the French terry, and I've thought, right, I'll do a straight stitch, which I've done, you might be able to see there in white, and I think that gives you the stretch that you need. So I'm quite happy to just use that on a straight stitch, which is a revelation really. So I think that I am going to sew just with a normal straight stitch. However, let's read the next part of the instructions, which are here. Right, so it's saying then, right sides together, stitch the shoulder seams together from the outside edge, ending at the circle indicated on the pattern. So there's two circles there. Which is fine. The shoulder seam allowance for this is 2 centimetres as well. It's saying 1 centimetre, which is usually 1.5. It's 1 centimetre for the rest of the garment, apart from the shoulder seam allowance, which is 2 centimetres. So I'm just going to get my pattern pieces back out and just mark those dots on. Don't know whether you can see them. So I'm going to mark those on, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'll just move my machine out of the way. So I've got the pattern piece back out. So this is, if I'm doing a 12, that is your circle that you need to sew up to. So I've literally laid it on the pattern piece at each side, on along, and then literally made a chalk mark there and there on that side, and that is where we need to sew into. So with the right sides together, stitch the shoulder seam. So I've got my front piece and my back piece. I'm just going to pin those together. Both of the shoulder seams. At this very early stage, my stripes match. I don't know how that will be towards the end. We shall see. So I literally need to stitch along to both of the white chalk marks. I'm trying to keep where you can actually see what you're doing, but that I can also sew properly as well. So it's very much a learning curve, this sew along thing. So using just the normal stitch, a 2 centimetre seam allowance, I've forgotten my tape measure and I don't know what 2 centimetres is, so I'm going to have to go off and find that. I'm back with my tape measure. The only thing about sewing somewhere else, if you have a sewing room or a sewing space, you have everything sort of to hand. I thought I'd remembered everything, and then you find that you haven't. So 2 centimetres is actually a centimetre mark on my plate on the sewing machine. Never mind. Right, here we go. Always back stitch. This is like a boat neckline, which I've never done before. And I'm not entirely happy with how high it is. I've seen a couple of versions that I don't particularly like because of how high the neckline is. So I've done that shoulder seam there with that Maraflex, and I'm happy using that, I think, with a straight stitch for the entire thing. And there might be people shouting at me. I never usually stab myself with pins, and today, doing this so long, I have stabbed myself so many times. It's not good. Here where that chalk mark is. Okay. Should get rid of my pins. So I've done both of the shoulders. I'm just going to trim. I was going to say, where's my normal scissors? They fell on the floor a little while ago, so I'm going to have to retrieve them in a minute. So we are there with that one. I've done that bit. What is the next part? So it does say to finish the raw edge of that neckline with your overlocker, so I think I'm going to do that before we come to the stabilising of the shoulder part. So I'm just going to swap my machines over. That's a little bit annoying. I wish that it had said that first, and then I would have just done both of those. I mean, I can still do them as decent seam allowance on there to be able to overlock it, but I would have preferred to do that separately, so never mind. So I've overlocked the top. I didn't film that because I've got a dining table here. This is like a kitchen diner, and the nearest plug is just over near the window. Now, sewing machine lead stretched, but the overlocker one is just a little bit too short, so I've got the overlocker on a dining chair just down here for the small parts that I need to do. Most of it is on the sewing machine, so that's where that is. So the next part is cut a length of stay tape, or you can use ribbon or clear elastic, the length of that shoulder seam that we've just done, that little length. On the wrong side of your back piece, place your tape next to your stitch shoulder line, it's stitch in place and repeat for the other shoulder, so kind of just above it, but on the back bodice. But with this kit that you bought, got stuff all over, so it'll take me an absolute age to tidy up after this. So with this kit that you got, you actually got a whole roll of iron-on stay tape. So I'm literally just going to cut 2 little pieces that size and then go and iron those on, and I'll come back and show you that. Right, so on the back bodice, above that stitch line, I've ironed on that stay tape, which was really easy to do. So we've done that bit. The next part, actually, we kind of jump to doing the sleeves. So inserting the sleeves, and they're inserted on the flat. Where are the sleeves? So they're inserted on the flat, and you kind of use the notch that we've cut in at the top and the notches for the back part. So I'm going to start doing that. I won't sort of fast forward you because this was quite an intricate part. I think that you would be very, very lucky if you got everything sort of matched up. I'm just going to re-put in my centre notch. So it just needs back. Wrong sleeve. Let's not turn that over. So I think if I wasn't filming this, it would be a pretty straightforward make. Very, very much. So I'm just going to pin it at that shoulder seam, and then I'm going to pin the 2 underarm bits parts. Come out with some right jargon. And then on the video it says to start from that underarm and try to then sort of match up the stripes, which is fine, but what Lauren did say was on this video, don't go for your stripe right at the edge. Your seam allowance is going to be a centimetre in, so sort of pinch it at a centimetre in and pull it back, and if they're matching, it's more for within the seam allowance. So she recommends also to kind of go like to pin every stripe, unless you've got a walking foot, because then when you are sewing it doesn't sort of shift, which is then going to make your stripes move anyway. So I'm kind of going to go along and do that. She does then say to that as you get further up, you're going to sort of lose that stripe. As you get towards the shoulder, you will lose the stripe. But I think that's just what it is, because as you can see here, we're going from this sleeve part, which is quite straight, and if you see behind, it's then the bodice. So that's never gonna match up anyway. But so far up, it does, and then you've kind of got to just ease it in and go with it after that. So I'm going to finish that side with you, and then so we've done that. So I'm going to finish the other side, finish the other sleeve, and then come back. Right, so we've pinned both sleeves. So I'm now going to use the 1 cm seam allowance to sew that in, and then we'll sort of turn it over and have a look to see what we think of the stripes. So I might actually do a basting stitch just to have a look, because if I'm not happy with it, I'll unpick it. But I think it's going to be alright, but I'll do a basting stitch. So I'll now change the stitch length on my sewing machine to 5mm, I think. So we'll do that and have a look. Right, so I've put the first sleeve in at with the basting stitch, so I'm just going to turn it round and see what we think. So if you remember, we started sort of at the underarm, and we knew that we would lose the stripe as we went, and then it joins back up again at the bottom. I'm quite happy with that, because I was quite happy. I'm glad I've done a basting stitch, because I've got the tiniest little pucker there. But no, as far as the sleeve is concerned, I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to unpick that pucker, and that's why it's sometimes good to do this. So I'm going to baste in the other sleeve, then I'm going to stitch them in properly and then overlock them, and I will come back to you. So I've sewed both of the sleeves in, and I've overlocked to finish them off. That's all done. The sleeve that we've got at the minute. So I'm just going to go and press that towards the sleeve, just so it's all as it should be. And then we are on to the next part, which is literally right sides together at the armpit. Match armhole seams and secure with a pin. and then we're literally just pinning up both of the sleeves and the bodice. So I'm obviously then going to match all of the stripes in, and then I'm going to do that with the basting stitches, and I'm going to try it on, because remember I'm cut out the size 12 and I want it to be a stretchy fitted top. So I'm going to try it on and see what I think, and I'm going to then take it in if I'm not happy with that. So I will go and iron those bits out, then you'll see me pinning everything and sewing it together, and then I'll go and try it on and show you what I think. So I've tried it on. Need to sort the neckline out. I've done a 12, and for me that's just a little bit, there's a little, just a bit too much give in it. You know, we've got this, you know, there's a bit there, so I'm going to take it in a bit, I think. So I do want it to, you know, be like a bit tighter across the bust and things like that. It's actually quite a long top. I could actually wear that with tights. So I think I'll probably end up taking quite a bit off the bottom as well. So I'm going to go and take a bit more in, and then try it on again. So I will then come back. This is obviously, I want this somewhere like down here. I want it quite low, without it looking stupid. So I'll go off and take it in at the sides, and then we'll have a look at the neckline. Right, I'm back. I've got a cup of tea, and for anyone who is vegan or dairy free like I am, Maryland vegan cookies. So I'm going to have a couple of those with a cup of tea. So what happened was, I took another, so it was a centimetre seam allowance. I took another centimetre off each side. The bodice part is perfect. I probably could have gotten away with taking a little bit more in of the sleeves, but it's fine. So I've done that, and I have overlocked all the edges, so everything is perfect, all overlocked. I've just done it in white as well. It's absolutely fine. So we are on to finishing the neckline, and I forgot to mark out where I wanted my neckline to be. I'm going to have to go and try it on again. Okay, so it's supposed to be 2 centimetres at the back, so we can do that bit. This is the back part, which is where we put that tape in, so we need to literally just fold it down and measure 2 centimetres along, so that's all turned the other way. So then what I might do is try do 2 centimetres at the back and maybe 4 at the front, then try it on and see if I want it any further. Something like this is absolutely fine to have this neckline this high, but it's like a slash boat neck, so it sort of comes from here and sort of, it's too high. I'm not happy with that, so I'm just going to go and pin this down at what I think, and then maybe baste it. and then at the front, which is also supposed to be 2 centimetre, I want it a lot lower, so I've done 4.5 centimetre in the middle, and then I've sort of eased out, so then it goes back up to 2 centimetres at the top of there. So I hope that's okay. I'm going to baste it round with white thread, just so I can turn it over and have a look at how flat it lays, and then when I've top stitched in the navy thread, I can then see where the basting thread is and pick it out. So we're going to do that next bit, or what I am going to do actually is get a little label to sew in. This one. Made by me with G&G, so I'm going to put that in the back now, and I can baste that in. Anyone got any tips for putting labels in straight, please share. So we've got that in the back there, so that I'll stitch that on. Starting at the front neckline, and bring it down right into the shoulder seam. So, as I say, I'm going to baste that in, and then I'm going to top stitch with something else. So I'm using the edge of the finished fabric that was overlocked as the guide. So I'm going to do that. So I thought I was basting with white thread, and I've actually just sewn it, so it doesn't actually look too bad. So I might just leave it as the white thread. I don't know whether I've got the neck right or not, because I've obviously gone further down, brought my neckline further down. It's obviously brought the top stitch further down, so I think I might have to try it on and have a look to see what I think. I don't know whether the white stitch is like knocking it out a bit. Right, so finishing the sleeves now. I have measured and I need to take 4 inches off the sleeves and 5 inches off the hem. This would have made a cute little dress if it had literally had about another 5 inches on. It's quite a long top, so I'm going to cut off what I need, and then I'm going to turn it up, press, turn it up again, because again on the video that Lauren did, she's got quite a deep hem band and arm bit, and I'm not actually that bothered that I've got the white stitch, and I think it looks okay. I think it just needs a good press, so I'm going to go off and do that. The battery is running out, but I think we will get there. So we are done. We've got a hemband, and I have hemmed the sleeves. A couple of loose threads there. So we just need to have a little bit of a tidy up of the loose threads, things like that. I'm going to press it, and then I'm going to do a little photo shoot so you can see what that looks like. What have we learned? What have I learned? I've learned a new technique of matching stripes. That was a little bit confusing at times, but I think you just have to pin is your friend with that one. What else? The fact that Maraflex thread allowed me just to do a straight stitch, and then I top stitched in it as well, which I didn't think was too bad. So I've really enjoyed that. So it's taken me 3 hours to film this. So I've done a bit on my phone, time lapses, I've done a little bit on my camera of close-up things that I wanted to show you. So let me know what you think. Did you want me to go more in depth with certain things? Is there certain things that you didn't need to see, like the time lapse of me sewing and things like that? So let me know what you think. I will link everything I've used today, the pattern, the Maraflex thread, everything like that, the link to the Guthrie and Ghani video on YouTube. For me, that really helped. That made it for me, watching that for the 30 minutes that it was on, just hints and tips of different things that you needed to know. So if I hadn't have bought the kit, I think I would buy another tutorial for £5. It's really, really interesting, really in depth, and it's really helped me on this garment. So photos or a little a video to follow. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye.